This is episode 7, I believe. The big question that many people have had. Why?
Why? Why are you doing this?
Why are you doing this to us? Why are you doing this, period? Why now? Like, in the beginning, I covered why has no one spoken up, and I thought that was going to be enough. And then I realized that was a mistake in not including why I was doing this video to begin with. So we're just going to briefly pause the entire series, the flow of the story, just to explain why I'm putting out these videos. So like I said, I've received a lot of questions, a lot of, heartfelt concerns.
Most of the feedback, like 99% of it's been overwhelmingly positive.
Yes.
It's been helping a lot of people,
positive.
So it's been really encouraging. But there's a few people that just think you should shut up, don't talk bad about your parents ever. And
I should skip past the bad parts.
Just get to the good parts where you got healed.
Where I got healed. And
that's another thing where you're seeing a lot of people are saying, oh, glad that this is helping you get healing. Like, no, she's already healed.
I'm healed.
So that's the other thing. People think, like, you can't talk about something if you're healed of it. That means you must still be angry or bitter, but you're not angry or bitter,
right, are you? Right. And that's so, yeah, I have...
Bitter.
Let's see. So I have mainly, like, just 5 reasons... Only 5. Why I believe I had to make this series. So number 1 was my mom, Cheryl Long, had 2 public blogs. Actually, there were several of us that had public blogs. I had a public blog. I know another sibling had a public blog as well, where we had, the idea was to share our Christian walk, our struggles, kind of our experience, and what we were, how we were living the Christian life. And it was basically painted as, this is the way to go. I mean, the second blog that had 5 of us girls as the authors was literally called The Long Way to Go, with the intention behind that name, meaning this is the way to go.
Writing it, though.
Well, we still...
Yeah, I remember her workshopping that name with me. She's like, I want to call it The Long Way to Go. I'm like, you realize that sounds like the wrong way to go, right? It sounds like you're saying it's the wrong way to go. And she still went with the name. So
Which is
turns out it was the wrong way to go after all. So it's very apt to name.
It's very apt to name. And that's
which is also why we're calling this podcast series A Long Way to Hell.
Yes,
which actually wasn't our name. Another sibling came up with that name, so we can't take credit for that.
No, we cannot take credit for that whatsoever. So yeah, so there was the Treasures from a Shoebox. And if you're ever curious, you can go to internetarchive.com or org, whichever one it is. Just
it's
Google
currently down,
Internet
though, after the
Archive.
hurricane. No, it hasn't been working. Oh, it is?
It's back. I just used it tonight. And they have what's called the Wayback Machine. So, because both The Long Way to Go and Treasures from a Shoebox have been made private. So unless you have like an email invite, you cannot access them.
What's she hiding?
However, there have been like over 3,000 instances where, with Treasures from a Shoebox, where people saved the link. They saved that web page. So using the technology that they have with the Wayback Machine, people can go and visit those pages. And not every link works. There's like, I don't know, thousands of them, or at least over 300. So you just click on the one, and if it opens a page, there you go.
So you can see old blog posts and such.
Yeah, you can see old blog posts.
Which also shows how popular your mom was. She had a pretty large following at one point, which is one reason why we have to do this series, because lots of people were following her and taking her advice, and we have to say, no, that's not good advice.
So yes, we had a lot of influence over people all over the world. Like, this wasn't, I mean, we weren't that big, but we still had worldwide followers and people from other countries who were
in the minor leagues of what was called the Christian fundies.
Yes. Yeah, we made it on Free Ginger.
Yeah, you weren't like
shout out to them.
You weren't like the Duggars, but you were second tier. You're the minor leagues, basically.
Yeah. I mean, we were really well known in Indiana, and for other reasons, for our family singing ministry. So the purpose of these blogs was to teach people the right way to go, the right standards. We wrote blog posts on how to be emotionally pure, and we didn't even know how to do that. Like, looking back, like...
No one was emotionally pure.
We were all boy crazy for people.
I know. As I got to meet you guys, I'm like, how is this guarding your heart? That guy is so hot. Like, how is that guarding your heart?
That's the thing, though. We had a public image, okay? Don't get me wrong. The way we were in private is not the way we were in public at all. And we're going to go over kind of what was presented. That's coming up. I believe that will be episode 9.
Yeah, we should just say, like, when we first recorded this, we thought it was going to be one video.
Yes.
So we did one recording session that ended up being 4 hours long. And we're like, this can't be one video. So it became a series. So
we're like, no one's going to watch
so
4 hours
now
of
we're
this
planning out episodes, so it's a little bit more structured.
It's a little bit more structured, and we kind of, it's evolved.
By the way, if you want to keep up with all these episodes and more so much more content planned, that's going to be more like how-to and tips to get healing, because a lot of people are reaching out on how do you get healing from this kind of trauma.
Marriage tips.
Yeah, we'll also have relationship. Yeah, we'll have all kinds of stuff. So if you want to keep up with all that, we'll have a link below where you can sign up, or you can go to AndromedaCoastMusic.com/email, and you can join our email list, and we'll also update you with our music, because we're our brand is we're a music band, so we put out electronic music. So if you're interested in that too, then you can sign up and get more.
Which we are going to have a song released on November 1st, isn't that correct?
Yes, we got a cover song coming out on November 1st, so stay tuned for that.
Yes. Might as well drop that in there. So the purpose of all these blogs was to teach people, guide people into the way of, this is the right Christianity, this is the right way to go. If you live this way, your life will turn out great. If you discipline your children this way, they will turn out perfect little human beings. If you guard your heart, you will end up in the most perfect relationship ever. You'll avoid heartache. You'll have, you'll find the perfect guy, and you'll avoid all of the relationship problems that everyone else has. And while some of that has largely been true,
spoiler alert.
It's not gone that way. And in fact, the whole family's a mess. Okay, I'm just gonna be honest. It's a wreck. All right.
And we wouldn't be the only ones to say that. Other family members would say everything's kind of falling apart.
And it's been falling apart for many years. And you can only hold a facade for so long.
I mean, your mom observes what she calls Broken Family Day. I don't know if we can cut that out if we're not supposed to include that. But she has a day that she observes once a year called Broken Family Day, which in her mind is the day the family broke, when really it was when the girls were removed from the home by their family members because they were in danger. Yeah,
I wouldn't call that broken. That family was already broken. It was broken long ago.
It was a rescue day.
It was family rescue day. So I believe people deserve to know the dangerous teachings and the result of what it led to. Because it's one thing, because we were kind of in the middle of it. And IBLP, I think is more popularly known as IBLP, is...
It still exists, by the way. Your mom just went to an IBLP family camp. So she's still in the cult. It's like, this is not like old hat. This is not old news. It's still going on.
This is not decades ago.
No.
This is not decades ago, which is a lie that has been circulating, is that this has all happened in the past. I'm like, if it was just happening in the past, I'd be fine. I wouldn't include a lot of this stuff, but
a big part of it is we haven't spoken up because, like, we learn about stuff that happened, but it's like, oh, that was 2 years ago, so we can't say anything now. And then
we can't
2
years
2 years go by and you realize, oh, at that time when we thought it was 2 years ago, more stuff was happening. But now it's 2 years in the past, or it's a year in the past, so we can't speak up. And it's just that cycle kept continuing.
The cycle keeps
So there's probably stuff happening now because we know certain siblings are being banned from talking to you. They're being threatened if they talk to you. So there must still be stuff going on that your mom doesn't want getting out. So we need to speak up.
Yeah. So people deserve to know the truth and what the fruit of the doctrine that we painted as, this is the way to go, this is the best, here's what you need to do with your life. I believe people need to know the dangers of that doctrine and the false gospel, because that's what it is. It's we were We were portraying and preaching, teaching, and pushing a false gospel. So that's reason number one. Reason number two is so that we are not complicit with our silence. Kind of dipped into this in the last point, but Dietrich Bonhoeffer has an excellent quote. I found this, and I was looking up only part of it. We've been quoting part of it this entire time.
Okay.
The full quote is, "Silence in the face of evil is evil itself. God will not hold us guiltless. Not to speak is to speak. Not to act is to act."
So, I'm sorry, all the people out there that know about this stuff, you know what's going on, and you're not speaking out. Number one, you're a coward. And number two, you're also now guilty by association. You're complicit with your silence.
You are. I've had some people reach out and say that they suspected because they recognized the signs, but they didn't say anything because they were like, well, the perfect family image, right? Here's the thing, though.
You look so happy or something like that, they would say.
You look so happy. You guys look so great. But if you suspect, it's not up to you to determine whether or not there's something going on. That's the law's job. And there's a reason that law, it's mandated for everyone. If you suspect that abuse is going on, you are required by law. It doesn't matter if you're a teacher or not. Mm-hmm. If you were just a regular citizen in the state of Indiana. It differs from state to state.
Right,
so check your laws.
Don't go reporting on parents just because you disagree with their parenting methods or their parenting methods.
Absolutely not.
Seem a little strict.
I am not advocating that in any manner.
Yeah.
Like, no, you can disagree with someone, but if you were suspecting abuse because this person had said that they recognized
the signs
because it happened to them themselves. And so they were seeing signs in us children, but didn't say anything. And there have been too many people who have suspected, who stayed silent because it's like the ultimate crime to report to CPS when that's their role. That they are a safety net. They're
By the way,
only
CPS
safety net.
Doesn't even do very much because they've investigated your family twice now and nothing's ever happened.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Because people just lie and cover it up.
Yes, we've all heard the horror stories. It's not a perfect system. But if you trust God and...
Right. I mean, it's tough because we're very pro-family. We have a large family.
Oh, my goodness. Very pro-family.
We're pro...
parents having the right to do what they want with their kids.
Right. Yeah, we're pro
that.
Parents' rights, and not only that, but we're very much in favor of raising your children in a unique way, going off the beaten path, not following the crowd. So we're a little weird too, but it crosses the line when it's abuse versus just like different standards or different opinions when it's actually like abuse going on, like all the stuff we've outlined.
Yes, which is why I think it's, and that is why I have been so meticulous with going into the definitions and describing this is the definition by Indiana law. Mm-hmm. And this is what happened in our home. So by Indiana law, they could have been charged with child abuse. Like they could have, and there's several counts, and they could have ended up with several misdemeanors and felonies. Like I'm not stating these things lightly. Like, and I'm not saying that all parents who are strict are bad parents. I want to make sure that that's very clear. You can be a strict parent and still be a great parent. I'm saying the line is when there is neglect and abuse that is going on.
We could probably be more strict.
Yeah, probably. So we can't be silent. I cannot be silent. I cannot be silent any longer because then I'm guilty too. And I will not be guilty of covering this up, of staying quiet. And no. And I want that quote on a t-shirt or something. Not to speak is to speak, not to act is to act. I want that on a shirt.
Well, we're working on putting together our merch shop, so we can put that in our merch shop.
But yeah, I was like, no way. Dietrich Bonhoeffer said this. That's the whole quote. 'Cause he was one of
your heroes.
Yes. So the third reason why we're doing this video series is to expose evil and allow others to make informed decisions concerning their children. You have a right to know who you're bringing your kids around. I'm sorry, but you have a right to know. My family has been largely farmed out to babysit many, many children. And no one knew. No one knew this was going on. I don't think they would have hired us to and volunteered us to babysit their kids if they knew these kinds of things were going on. Like, it's bad. And that was one of the reasons why I did the first video, was because I was like, look, if
I know we hate to say it, but there's been a lot of child on child abuse. There's been a lot of the sexual abuse was perpetuated by other siblings.
But it is a very serious thing. It is, and it leaves scars.
Here's the thing: one of your siblings, I don't know if we want to cut this, but one of your siblings, because of all this that came out, said they didn't want one of your other siblings to be around their children.
Yes.
So they were benefiting from this knowledge, and we feel like other people deserve to know that if other people in the family don't want certain family members around their children because of sexual assault they carried out in the past, then other people deserve to know. Which we're not saying any names. We're trying to protect people, so we're not trying to out anyone. But I'm
not trying to out anyone. I'm not trying to shame anyone. It's just you have a right. You have parents need to be able to make informed decisions. If I'm going to take my kid to a place, I need to understand all the ramifications that might come into play. And as the father, as that's one of your primary roles, is a protector. You can't protect from something that you can't see or you don't know exists. Like you can't
For example,
carry out your role completely.
We set important when we were visiting with your family one time, before we even knew everything, but we knew children who are victims of sexual abuse are more likely to go on to abuse children themselves or be abusers themselves.
Yes. It's a high statistic.
So we had no knowledge of some of your siblings if they did anything or were dangerous, but when we were visiting with your family, we put clear boundaries in place that they weren't to be alone with our children, things like that. And
I just had a gut instinct.
Yeah. And then come to find out a year or two later, they were doing sexually molesting others at that same time. So we probably didn't do enough. We probably shouldn't have even taken our kids around them at that point in time. And
it sounds harsh because it's like, but that's your family. But it's like, if they weren't family, we wouldn't have even considered taking them around them. So it's like, I'm sorry. Yes, family is important. And that is the line that caused a lot of the harm that went on in the home. Is family is important. You stick by family no matter what, including dangerous family members, extended family members who were not wise, who should not have been around as children. Like, it was not safe environments. And
again, the one family member that raped you as a 3-year-old, he had your mom knew he was dangerous. Mom, he tried to kill your mom because when they were younger, and he also molested her.
Yeah.
So she said, no, this is not a safe person to take my children around, but family's important.
Family is important, and while I agree with that, I also believe that your children are more important than the feelings of adults that you are related to. I'm sorry. If you're an adult and you've committed a crime, you should understand that, hey, yeah, I get it. Maybe you shouldn't bring your kids around me. Instead of just putting stupid rules into place.
Or even you could think to yourself, I know I'm different now. I know I've changed, but I harmed that person. I totally understand them not wanting to take their children around me. If you've really changed, you should be understanding.
There was one person who did that, who went to my mom and told them things that they had done and said, look, I just want you to be aware. This was in my past. I'm not this person now, but I want you to be aware, like, you're letting me around your kids. I think you should know. You have a right to know. They actually came out and said that. He admitted to that.
So that shows that maybe they have changed. That's a good step to take.
Mom was letting us be alone with this person, and they were a little alarmed because they were like, "Are you okay with leaving me with your kids? Like, you fine with this?" So they were very upfront and honest about what they'd done in the past, and made it clear, I'm different now, but I feel like you should be allowed to make an informed decision about whether or not you want me to be alone with your kids. And that's very honorable. That's very respectable. Like, more people should do that. It's risky, But if you care about other people, then you're going, if you actually love other people and you have love in your heart, then you will do these kinds of actions.
Right.
You're not gonna force others to be in your presence, whether they're comfortable or not.
Exactly.
Which is like one reason why I hated Christmas so much and holidays, like,
because that's when it happened.
That's when it happened, and those are those when we were exposed to people we didn't feel safe around. And we tried saying things, but it's like, no, family's important. There's Ephesians 5:11. It says, do not participate in the useless deeds of darkness, but instead expose them.
So the Bible tells us to expose evil.
You're not to just cover it up. And I know people would say, well, what about the verse, love covers a multitude of sins? It's like, that has a different meaning than just covering stuff up and hiding it in the dark.
You can love a criminal, but still get a paper trail established with the police, as one pastor said, something like that. But loving someone doesn't mean you don't still do the right thing and try to bring about justice.
Exactly. And I think people have this mistaken idea that, oh, God's going to bring justice, so we don't need to do anything. That's God's responsibility. And it's like,
right, that's what one of your siblings was like, all this stuff is going on, God's going to deal with them, I'm not going to get involved, even though more people might get hurt.
But here's the thing. Yes, absolutely, God can intervene and God can do anything. But he invites people to do his work and to carry out his will.
Right. If you're a Christian, then you are the body of Christ.
Yes.
So you're supposed to be his arms and legs. You're supposed to be carrying out his will on earth.
You were to be a rescuer. And that's cool. It's so great that we actually get to take part in that and rescuing people.
Participate in bringing heaven to earth.
Yes. Like, that is exciting. Like, I feel like if more people understood that would be exciting rather than just...
Oh, yeah. It's very exciting. Which we'll get to later.
Exciting. Yes, we will.
All the exciting things.
It's
like being a Jedi.
It is like, it is. It really is. All right. So reason number 4, to give a light to others. So Ephesians 5:12-13 says, it is shameful even to mention what the disobedient do in secret, but everything exposed by the light becomes visible, and everything that is illuminated becomes a light. There are so many people, the response that we have received from people who have related and who have shared their stories has been incredible and overwhelming, to be honest. Like, there hasn't even been that many views.
Yeah.
Relatively speaking. But if you read the comment section, you'll see some people who are relating, and then lots of
private messages you've gotten.
Dozens of private messages where people are like, hey, thanks for sharing this. And then just sharing where they're at and what they're going through and how they related. And it's very humbling, because it's like, wow, I knew there was a lot. I knew there were a lot of people who could be influenced and could relate to this, but it's like, you don't even know how many, because...
And I mean, the whole area of trauma is very new to science. So there's not a lot of answers for people who have been traumatized, and you've been able to be healed of all this. It's not affecting you at all. Trauma, right? You think that's all just like an internal emotional thing, like, oh, I feel sad because I was harmed when I was a child. No, it's like it shows up in so many other areas of your life, like physically. It has physical effects.
I was actually going to go through, that's funny you mentioned that, because I was going to go through all the different signs.
So we want to let people know, like, you can get healed of all this, and you can be healed of your trauma. It doesn't have to impact your life anymore. And so that's why this can be a light to others.
It doesn't. And that's the thing, is like, at best, the medical community will offer you drugs, therapies, coping mechanisms, and that's it. I was told in my search for getting some resolution, because it got really bad for me, and I'll go more into detail into that in another video, but I was told that who was it? It was, I think it was my midwife. She said, yeah, we all just kind of deal with it for the rest of our lives. You never get over it. And I'm like, I don't accept that. I refuse to accept that.
And what we're realizing is just how many people have been affected. Like, so many people have been sexually abused or molested. Like, Dave Chappelle made a joke. I didn't understand it at the time. I didn't relate to it. Like, he's like joking, like, oh, we've all been touched by, so-and-so, uncle, whatever. He was basically saying those children that were molested by Michael Jackson, they're fortunate. We all get molested by people. At least they got molested by someone famous, Michael Jackson, right? They should be thankful for that.
It's Michael Jackson. I know more than half the people in this room have been molested in their lives. But it wasn't no goddamn Michael Jackson, was it? All we get is awkward Thanksgivings for the rest of our lives.
If this is offensive, I apologize to anyone who was offended.
It's really funny. Obviously it's an offensive joke. But
some people who are not in the, along the healing process, this stuff is more like, how dare you make a joke? But when you've come to a place, when you're completely healed, you can laugh about it.
Yeah, it wasn't. Yeah, it was Dave Chappelle saying it, so it wasn't our joke. But
it wasn't.
So obviously it's offensive.
I'm just laughing. I don't want people to think that I'm insensitive.
But that's part of what makes it funny, is it's so offensive.
But
But the deeper point behind it is, wow, this is so common, and it shouldn't be.
Listening to the crowd laugh, how many people laughed at that joke and resonated with that was honestly horrifying. That wasn't funny, but it's
not a funny thing, because
it's not a funny thing.
If you think, oh, that was a long time ago, it's not affecting me anymore. No, it probably is affecting you and you don't realize it, because your body internalizes it and it shows up as health issues, all kinds of stuff, and people get triggered, and you go fly off the handle, and you don't know why. Anyway, it's a whole long list of things. You
may not even know that you're dealing with childhood trauma, because if it was long ago, and if it was scarring enough, because this one book I read, it was one of the very few books that are out there on people who've recovered childhood trauma memories later in life. This lady was 50 years old, had no idea anything happened to her, and then all of a sudden started having memories and was freaked out by it because her father had done it to her when she was 3. And she didn't know until she was 50 years old. So she had been living her life fine until her father died. And sometimes that's what can trigger a memory. It's like when the person who harmed you leaves the earth, it can be like a signal to the body, like, hey, we're safe enough to recover that. Like that's one of the, there's different levels of safety that people need to feel in order to remember. Like, it's different for every person. It depends on how deep the wound is and how young you were. So she had to reconcile all of this and the fallout from that. Like, her mother admitted to it, but then later was like, just forget about it. It's not important. And she's like, it's important to me because it's affecting me now. Like, I don't know how to handle this. And she was still at the point when she wrote her book, she was still in therapy. And I was like, I don't want that. I don't want to still be stuck in therapy for the rest of my life. Are you kidding me? That's all that there's out there to offer. So signs of childhood trauma in adults can include emotional dysregulation, relationship difficulties, and I'll kind of walk through a little bit more detailed, self-destructive behaviors, chronic health issues, and hypervigilance. So,
which many mistake for being
empathetic.
Yeah.
I'll cover the...
Right. Someone will say, I'm so empathetic that I can't be around too many people because I take on all their emotions, or I sense all their emotions.
Yes, that's not empathy. That is hypervigilance. That is you. Yeah. So some of the emotional and physical psychological signs of childhood trauma in adults can include persistent or uncontrollable feelings of fear, anxiety, depression. Regulating emotions or establishing healthy attachment to others can also be challenging. And then common emotional and psychological signs of childhood trauma include flashbacks or intrusive memories. So many adults experience vivid flashbacks of the traumatic events they once experienced. These can be triggered by very specific cues or reminders of their past. Low self-esteem or self-blame. Adults who harbor feelings of worthlessness, shame, or self-blame due to trauma often develop a negative self-image. Dissociation. Some adults try to disconnect from their feelings or thoughts as a way to deal with the overwhelming emotions about their abuse. Difficulty with trust. That's a big one. Adults who went through trauma in their youth might struggle with trust, fear, betrayal, or abandonment trauma, which can impair the ability to form and maintain close and meaningful relationships. Mood swings can be prevalent for adult survivors of trauma. Fluctuations in mood can range from anger to sadness to irritability to despair, often with no warning, which is really frustrating. Sleep disturbances. Re-experiencing traumatic memories during sleep is not uncommon. It can cause insomnia, nightmares, or other sleep disturbances. And that's the thing. If you're having like recurring nightmares and you don't know why, start writing them down and see if there's a pattern. We should do like a whole video, like just detailing like, you might be traumatized if.
So where are you getting all this from?
So let's see. Where did I thought I'd written down where I got this from.
It's various, medical, scientific.
It was a
websites?
medical website. This was all from one website.
This is all research that other people have done that you're just citing. This is not just you my own. No, making it up.
No. Where is the... The website's on my phone. Okay. Apparently I didn't copy where it came from.
We can put links to all the sources in the description below.
Mm-hmm. And then hypervigilance and a startle response.
That was something crazy that all your siblings had.
You're like, this is not normal.
You're so easily startled. Like, we could, like, this happened so much, like, in our first year of marriage. Like, I could just, like, walk into a room and you'd immediately be scared, even though I would
scream.
Yeah, you would jump, you would scream. And even though I'd been at home the whole time.
Yeah, I knew it was in a house.
And we lived in at that time, we lived in a, 700 square foot house. So it was really small. It's really tiny. And so there's like 3 rooms. So I just walk from one room into the same room and you're like, ah!
Yeah.
And same thing with all the other siblings. Like they would get scared really easily.
Yeah, and I was like, doesn't everybody do this? And you're like, no, this is not normal.
Startled.
Yeah, startled to the point of, yeah, it was, yeah.
So that's a trauma response.
It is a trauma response. So then there's behavioral signs, which is avoidance behavior. So you might, adults with repressed memories might withdraw to avoid situations, people, or places that remind them of their trauma. And this can be subconscious or conscious. You might just avoid places because you don't.
For your siblings, it was like the color yellow, for one example, because a lot of things happened in a room with yellow wallpaper.
I hate the color yellow.
Mm-hmm. You didn't know why.
No, I'm like, I should like this. And it was a very specific yellow, like bright yellow, I was fine with. And that's why I still was able to wear that bright yellow dress, because it was a vivid yellow, and the yellow that was from my memory was a pale, like baby pale yellow. I like that color. Which I want, that's something I could use a little bit more healing on, because I do want to enjoy the color yellow. I feel like that's a right that I should have. I shouldn't still dislike the color yellow.
So it's a healing as a process. So you mostly heal from everything, but there's a few small things here and there that
they're small. They're small and
but when
very tiny.
And it's usually you didn't realize it, and then when you realize it, we're able to get healing for that really quickly.
So great. So then self-destructive behaviors.
We have a secret technique we use to get healing right away, which I don't want to spoil it by mentioning it here, so you have to keep watching. But there's a really easy, super quick technique you can use to instantly get healing. We'll share what that is later. A little teaser.
You make it sound like we have like spells or something.
No, it's not a spell.
Or a wand.
Not a magic wand. Or amulets. As some folk use.
So yeah, just self-destructive behaviors. I mean, it's common for adult survivors to engage in risky or harmful behavior like substance abuse, or self-harm in an attempt to numb their emotional pain. It's like, I don't say that to condemn anyone, because I myself was addicted to a lot of different things.
No, we're not condemning anyone here.
I'm not condemning anyone. Like, if you suffer from these, I'm merely listing these so that if you recognize this for yourself, reach out. Seriously, reach out, and I'd be more than willing to talk with you and help you in any way I can.
Yeah, and feel free to join our email list, because we'll be sharing more tips.
Yes.
So again, that's in the description below where you can sign up.
Yeah, because it's hard to get help. It really is hard to reach out for help sometimes. Because you can't just go to a therapist. If you've been traumatized, you need someone who is has been trained in, it's called trauma-informed therapy, because they're going to have a bit of a different approach than just a regular talk therapist. So anyway, that's just a tip there. Yeah, isolating yourself from others is very common. Survivors of abuse might avoid social interactions with others out of fear of harm or rejection. Impulsive behavior. Some adults are impulsive or engage in risky behaviors like unsafe sexual practices. Disordered eating. That was mine. That was one of mine. Using food to try and cope with past trauma and regain a sense of control isn't uncommon. And this also bleeds into your personal relationships, whether you like it or not. It's going to bleed in, and it can cause intimacy issues, difficulty developing and maintaining meaningful relationships, challenges expressing emotions, interpersonal conflict, anger, impulsivity, and emotional dysregulation, unhealthy attachment patterns, whether it's avoidance or clinginess, and then repeating the cycle. Without intervention, there's a risk of perpetuating the same harmful patterns learned in childhood.
Which is what your parents did. That's partly why they were bad parents, is they had childhood trauma that they never got healing for.
They said they did. They said they did.
Right, but they didn't.
I want you to be clear. They said this isn't me like, oh, my parents were so bad and, you know, I have no compassion for them. I do have compassion for them. But they themselves said that they used the John Regier course. And they went through several of the basic life seminars by Bill Gothard. And that was supposed to have helped them to get through some of this stuff. And like, you ask my mom, she'll say, yeah, I've been healed. I'm fine. And it's like, no.
But yet she has such horrible food allergies, so you can barely eat anything.
It's so
She has
sad.
so many health problems, which probably stems to that. But so, also, I mean, they're also not off the hook. It's not like just because you were abused, you have to abuse other people, because lots of people are abused and don't go on to abuse other people. It's just you're more likely to. And we're still responsible for our own actions. It's
like if you know you're the child of an alcoholic, you know, and society will tell you, the medical community will tell you, you need to be careful around alcohol because you are more susceptible to alcoholism than someone whose parents weren't alcoholics, which is what we were told. We were told we all need to be careful around alcohol, and that's why we don't drink alcohol, because my parents were alcoholics. So let's see. This person, I'm not even going to... Talkspace therapist Minkyung Chung? I don't know. So that someone who came from an absent or neglectful family may end up seeking acceptance and belonging with others in a way that can be harmful to them. It's not uncommon for individuals with childhood trauma to struggle with some level of mental health instability, and it's important to work through these traumas to find the right overall balance. So there's other repercussions, mental health conditions. This can include adult depression, anxiety, PTSD, borderline personality disorder, any number of those, and so many more. Physical health conditions. A lot of people, and this is so crazy, this is the crazy thing. A lot of people will say that your 30s are when your body starts breaking down, and that's when you go downhill. But actually, there was this psychologist and therapist. She realized it was actually the body's way of saying, we've been harmed and we can't keep it all together anymore. We're tired and you haven't dealt with this. So we're going to put it into the physical part of your body so that you'll deal with it.
Right.
To some extent.
As we've talked about in episode 1, a big part of why this is all just coming out now is a lot of times when you're a child and you're abused, your mind locks that away. It gets the abuse gets stored in your body, and so that's why these effects are coming out. But it's a coping mechanism, a survival mechanism where it's just like when people experience too much pain, they'll pass out. So it's the same thing where if you experience these traumatic episodes that are too much for your young brain to handle, your brain will block it out, and so all this trauma gets stored in the body. You block it out, and your body can only handle that for so long before it all kind of just manifests physically, because it's still in there eating you alive, and it can only hold on to that for so long. So that's why in your 30s it tends to come out.
These can manifest as like cardiovascular disease, heart disease. That's one of the leading causes of death right now. It is heart disease. it's not just because of what you're eating. Everyone wants to blame the food, but it goes much deeper than that.
And this is starting to become more widely understood. Like, it's still, a lot of people don't understand, like, this trauma is still, this is still very new.
Yeah, within the last 20 years.
But even, like, some pretty big, like, mainstream, like, doctors, like, I don't know if you know Dr. Mike, he has a big, like, YouTube channel. And even he's saying, like, we're now starting to realize if people have all these health conditions and we don't understand why, there's no, like, physical reason for it, we start to ask questions about trauma, if they've been traumatized.
Yeah, autoimmune disorders too. Chronic pain. Those are all, and I mean, this I don't know why it lists substance abuse under a physical health condition. I wouldn't have put that there.
Anyway, the list goes on and on.
It goes on and on.
We don't want to bore you with all the different
No, we
things.
can save that for another video, like common trauma-related illnesses. And then self-care and grooming. Like, this is a weird one. But not being able to take care of your basic hygiene is a result of childhood trauma.
Dwight's
lacking basic self-care skills, struggling with personal hygiene, dental care, and household management.
So that's probably what was going on.
Taken me so long to finally be able to take care of the house.
That's probably what was going on with Dwight's aunt or whoever. Remember?
Oh, yeah.
Did he have Angela help him hose her down or whatever? No, I'm going to bathe you like a proper lady. It's an Office reference. So it's probably why she was like that. She probably had childhood trauma.
So these.
Or it doesn't even have to be childhood trauma, does it? It can just be any kind of trauma.
Well, this is specific. This is specific for childhood trauma. The effects of this showing up for adults.
Yeah.
It's
which
different
it makes
for
sense.
children.
Yeah, because childhood trauma is
for children.
so much worse because children aren't capable of handling it, whereas trauma that happens to you as an adult, you're probably a little bit more capable.
And not everyone who is traumatized will experience these effects. Mm-hmm. A bigoted, because you might be hearing all this and thinking, oh my gosh, and as a parent, it's like it's terrifying to think, oh my gosh, my kids are going to go through traumatizing things. How do I keep them from ending up, dysfunctional and messed up as adults? And it's like, if you are, and they found that this is what can reverse the effects and minimize the damage done, is if there is an adult present in a child's life who is loving, who gives unconditional love. That is the requirement. It's unconditional love and support. If they have that in their life, they can withstand anything. It doesn't matter what's thrown at them. And that's what we've seen with our kids, because some of our kids have been through a lot. They've been through a lot of traumatizing things.
Not from us, but from just normal life things like getting injured.
Yeah, like serious burns or
one of our children,
medical.
They were playing and they fell and they hit their head and they had to go get stitches, and that was a very traumatizing experience. But
very traumatizing. And we're still helping her heal through that one. But we know how to help her. So she's not stuck. Like, she's a much stronger child, and this was just within a few months. Like, she still has some effects.
Right. So yeah, that's another thing for people, right? Even if you're great parents, your children can still be traumatized because life's just traumatizing sometimes.
Life is harsh. It's very harsh. And so it's like, you shouldn't be afraid of trauma. You shouldn't be afraid of that whatsoever. And that's part of the reason why I wanted to speak up about this, is there's a way to mitigate the effects. There's a way to get healing. Like, you don't have to be stuck with it and think, oh, I'm damaged. I'm just damaged goods for the rest of my life. But that's also why soldiers who go into battle, not all of them come back with PTSD. It's those who have been traumatized previously.
Wow.
Who end up with post-traumatic stress disorder.
That's really fascinating.
So because some men will go through the war and they'll be like, yeah, I'm fine. Others, it destroys them. And when they dug deeper, they found it was because they had been previously traumatized growing up.
Yeah, I've read lots of memoirs, books by soldiers, and like some of the ones I've read, they're like, I can't wait to get back into combat. I love it because it creates kind of like thrilling. You have that, and plus you have that camaraderie that you can't really get anywhere else with your fellow soldiers and stuff. So I guess that's someone that hasn't been traumatized.
Yeah. But like,
I'm sure they don't like all the all the stuff that comes with war, but just that's what that's their when they're in their element.
No, but boys inherently love battle. Like, that starts at a young age. Like, you. I mean, we see that.
Yeah, well, but then there's the concept of battle, but then there's the actual realities of war, which obviously not everyone hates, and it's horrible, and no one would say they like that. But
no,
I've read books where these soldiers say they actually couldn't wait to get back.
I more so meant there's the aspect of fighting for a good cause,
right? Which
was even appealing to me as a girl.
Well, that's what we're doing right now.
Yes, you get to be a warrior. So yeah, and then also under that same point, you know, I dealt with like pretty much all of those that I just listed. I mean, would you agree?
I'm sure there's some you didn't have, but I can't remember them all as a long list, but you did have a lot of...
I don't think I had BPD.
You've had a lot of...
You've
been through a lot.
I've been through a lot. And you've, I mean, with your relationship stuff, I mean... you've had to go through that. Just why
it only helped our relationship. It only made us grow closer.
Right, but for a lot of people, I mean, like, I think you were an extraordinary human being, and you have a lot that you could offer to spouses of people who've been through, you know, the spouse of a traumatized spouse. I don't know what I'm trying to say. So, but your response was largely what helped me get to the point where I was.
Because we have heard of spouses that want nothing to do with it. Their spouse is going through all this. They want to ship them out to someone else, or they can't handle it.
Or they don't believe them.
Or they don't believe them.
That's really sad. There's that aspect. And it happens. It's an unfortunate reality. But...
And it can be confusing because, like, you don't see anything physically wrong with the person. It's like, why are you acting like this? Like, or you don't think childhood trauma is that bad because there's no real education on it. So
why
just
can't
get
you
over
be a normal
it.
human being and just tell me when you're mad at me
just
instead of running away? Get over it.
Come on, we've all been hurt, but come on, just suck it up or something. Right? You might have that line of thinking, but it's because there's just so little education on this. I guess I don't know.
Yeah, especially because like I feel like for me,
couples, I just knew like you were a very tough person, so if it's having this effect on you, then it must be really bad.
Yeah, because I kept telling you like I don't think it affected me, and you're like you kept saying
Yeah, when we're engaged and you were telling me the tiny bit that you remembered, and I had to tell you like, no, you were raped. You didn't even know you were raped.
No,
you were thinking you were somehow.
I thought I was
consenting.
I was the perpetrator.
And yeah, so at one point I'm like, how are you not more messed up? Like
you're like, I say this lovingly, but how are you not more messed up? And I took it as I was so prideful. My gosh, I was like, well, I just, guess I don't think I said it out loud. But
so
I was thinking I must just
that.
Be special.
I don't know how I knew that.
I wonder if God just gave you that information somehow.
Because I don't think I didn't know very much about trauma or rape or anything. I didn't know anyone who'd been raped. I could have known someone, but I didn't know anyone as far as I knew.
It's not that you had any experience with helping someone
through that. But somehow I knew, like, if you went through that as a child, that's probably affecting you as an adult.
That's what I'm saying. I think God must have prepared you.
Or it's just common sense. I don't know.
If it was common sense, then more people would know. More people would have that response.
Maybe.
I don't know. It is a mystery. It is a mystery for sure, but your response has been...
And of course, back then, when your mom didn't want you to tell me any of that stuff until after we were married, which is kind of insane.
That is
covering it up back then.
Hugely insane.
First, so it happened. We're on a phone call, and you're telling me a little bit, and
it was a Skype call.
It was a Skype call, and your mom walks into. You were in the camper.
I was crying because you were telling me that I was beautiful and you still love me.
I don't even remember what I was telling you.
I still had value.
Yeah, that's right. Because you wrote me up what you remembered, and you thought I wouldn't want to marry you.
Yeah, I was like, well, he should have a right to know what happened to me, and I'm damaged goods. Because like I said, being raised in the purity, I covered this in a previous episode, being raised in the purity culture, that was your value. And I was like, well, my value has been stolen, and I didn't keep it very well, so he has a right to know, and if he wants out, I should give him that out. I was very terrified. I was like, but if he doesn't want to be saddled with someone who has this experience, that was your right to know. I felt like you needed to make an informed decision. Even back then, that's been my policy.
Just made me want to marry you even more. So, yeah, and then so then you're like crying and stuff, and your mom walks into the camper and like, "What did that boy do to you?" or something.
I'm like, Mom, he made me cry, but it was good.
So you told her what we've been talking about, and she told you what?
That didn't happen.
That didn't happen.
Oh yeah, she's very insistent. That did not happen. I don't know what you're talking about.
But then a couple hours later, she tells you.
3 or 4 hours later, she says, you should not be sharing the details of that with Reagan until after you're married.
So,
and I'm like,
when gaslighting doesn't work, try a new approach. Because that was a big weapon in their arsenal, is gaslighting you guys to say that what you experienced didn't actually happen.
Yes.
And so a lot of you guys thought you were crazy, or like, oh, I guess that didn't happen.
And that's why it's so hard for adults or, teenagers to come to terms with the fact that something's happened to them, is because they have that embedded in their psyche that I'm just crazy. I'm over exaggerating. This didn't actually happen. And it's a lie straight from the pit of hell, man. Like that is such a demonic weapon right there to convince you that something didn't happen to you. Because if you don't think that it happened to you, you can never recover from it. Mm-hmm. Because it's going to affect you whether you like it or not.
That's another thing. Like someone would say, like, why would you want to think about your trauma? Why would you want to bring it? Because it's it's a bullet hole. You have a bullet hole in you. Maybe you can't see it, but it's in your spirit, and you're bleeding out. And maybe you put a Band-Aid over it so you look okay. But you still have that festering wound, and you got to look at it and treat it. Mm-hmm. Otherwise, you're going to bleed out. And so that's the only way to get healing, is you have to remember, and you have to go through it.
I've read many different books written by guidance counselors, by therapists who say the only way that we can get our people to be completely healed is you have to walk through it. Some people never walk through it. They just want coping mechanisms for the rest of their life because they can't even handle it.
But the only way out is through.
The only way out is through.
If you were to have a physical bullet wound, you can't just say, why are you looking at your bullet wound? That's gross. That's got to be extra painful to look at that bullet wound. So why don't you just ignore it, right? It's so silly if you think about it in the physical realm. But I do want to, without spoiling too much, okay. I do want to add that you're not going to be looking at a bullet hole forever. Mm-mm.
In fact, I just recently had some of my memories redeemed, is the only way I can describe it.
Do you want to go into more detail on that?
I don't know. It's just
a quick.
Yeah, I mean, I've been healed, so this is why I'm so adamant about
just since when you did the first series.
Yes, this is just since. So I recovered the beatings by my father, and that was very. I think I explained how, like, when I relived that, like, I was in some severe pain for days.
In the present day.
In the present, in 2023.
It was like you were re-experiencing the beatings.
Like, and I was physically, and it's like still in my mind when I could recall that memory. Mm-hmm. And it wasn't like, it's not like it haunted me. It was just like, it was there. Mm-hmm. But
if you thought about it, you remembered the pain.
I could recall the pain, but not to a degree where I was, triggered or, incapacitated.
You didn't have any of the symptoms we just went through.
No, I didn't have any of those. It was just, it was still there. And I was raped at 3, and there was that memory as well. And we had just finished reading a book called Piece to the Pieces. And in there, they talk about how they've had people who went through horrendous things, and yet they were able to receive healing to the extent of Jesus went through and rewrote their memories for them, redeeming them. Mm-hmm. So they didn't
because God is outside of time.
Yes.
So he actually went back in time into that moment and was able.
And now all that woman could remember was being held by Jesus and her walking out of the room.
Right. She didn't remember the incident.
And I was like,
Which obviously she still remembered that it happened, but she didn't remember any of the pain.
Yes. It's like you still know these things have happened to you, but you don't recall the specific memories. And it's like, yeah, there's full redemption through the blood of Christ. There's full redemption. And like, we don't...
By his stripes we are healed.
By his stripes we are healed. And so I was like, well, I don't have that. And I prayed about it. And at the time I was like, well, you were supposed to talk about it. That's why. I was like, okay, so I'll have healing.
That's reason number 5 why we're doing this video is because God told you to do it.
Yeah, so I guess there's 6 total reasons.
Okay. I guess that's reason 6. Bonus reason.
Bonus reason. So just within the last week, I was praying and I had a moment where God rewrote my memories. And now when I think of my dad beating me, I don't think of my dad beating me anymore. I just think I see God hugging me from behind. Because as I described, I was in a bent over position.
You had a whole experience. Which I had a whole experience. I don't know if you're planning on sharing that later.
I think I'll share it later because this video is probably...
This is pretty long. So it's
just pretty long enough.
Anyway, you can have those painful memories redeemed.
They can be rewritten. And like, it's possible. It is possible. And that's why that leads me to reason number 5 is to share the true, powerful, and healing gospel. Like, this isn't...
Not the wimpy gospel that you were raised with. But the powerful gospel.
Yeah, not...
Well, how does Paul describe it? I'm not ashamed of the gospel because it is the power of...
For I'm not ashamed of the gospel of Jesus Christ, for it is the power...
Salvation?
Yeah, unto salvation.
And you can be saved from many things, not just from damnation, but saved from your trauma. Saved from things that have been done to you.
Betrayals, any kind of hurt, any pains. You can be saved from that because that is the finished work of Jesus Christ. He said on the cross, it is finished. It's finished.
Right. He died not just to save you from hell, but to save you from sin, to save you from pain, free. To save you from anything that's been done to you.
Yes.
So you can be healed.
Yes. Anything that's been done to you. So yeah, this is... Yeah, I've described, I am healed. I stayed it through and through.
This video is not for you to heal. The series is not about you getting healing.
No, this isn't like some people think me speaking up is part of the healing process. And it's like, no, it's because I have been healed that I am able to speak up. And I have the courage and the...
It's because you have something that's so confidence. Good and so wonderful, you have to share it with the world.
Yes, I do. And it's like, I've helped another sibling get healing from their trauma too, and in a very short amount of time.
And hopefully we can have that sibling on to talk too, because she had fibromyalgia, which is supposed to be incurable.
Her story is incredible.
And we were able to help her get completely healed.
Yes.
In an instant. Well, it took some time, but not an instant, but a very short period of time, over a very short period of time.
Largely a very short period of Some people end up taking years. And it took me years. It took me a couple of years to get to this point because we were finding this stuff. And
she did a ton of other stuff that she was healed of.
Yes.
Some stuff instantaneously, some stuff has taken some time.
Yes, some stuff has taken time.
But it's only been like 3 months since we started.
It's less than 3 months.
Less than 3 months.
Beginning of August.
And she's like a completely different person now. So hopefully we can have her on to share her story at some point.
So yeah, it was finding the true Father, the true Son, and the true Holy Spirit, not the legalistic caricature that Michael Johnson and Landmark Baptist and ATI and IBLP and all the cults that we were in fabricated. The one that my family presented publicly. It was not that.
Right, a hateful taskmaster.
No.
Constantly judging you.
No, instead I found a Jesus that loves you no matter your condition. No matter your condition. You can just come. There's no, I gotta clean up. I gotta quit doing this. No. You just come. Just come as you are, and he changes you from the inside out. And
it has real power.
There's real power.
It's not
There's a Father God that isn't angry, hating you, judging you, but full of love and compassion.
Right. God already poured out all his wrath on Jesus 2,000 years ago.
Yes, he did. And yes, there is a second judgment coming at the end of the age.
But not right now, not during this time.
But not during this time.
God's not angry.
No, he's not. No, I have sensed the anger of the Holy Spirit, but it's only been towards the people who committed these atrocities. And been angry over the fact that this was done. Because
I guess I'm saying not as a general state of being. He's not.
Yeah, he's not. Yeah, and a Holy Spirit that bestows on anyone who is willing to receive true power of transformation. Like, this is a true transformative gospel. This isn't this.
It's not you striving. It's not you trying harder.
No, it's not you. Checking off a list of,
harder.
I've done this, I've done this, I've done this. If I've read my Bible, so no, God will love me more. No, God, that doesn't. Honestly, God would love you even if you never read another page from Scripture, which is mind-blowing to think about, especially for someone with my background. And that has been a hard thing for me to digest. And like, I have just recently been freed of the shackles of that stupid thinking, but it was in the rewriting of that memory that helped me see God for who he truly is.
Right. So, it's God does the work. He comes inside of you and he just transforms you from the inside out. So you just change naturally. It's not you by trying harder. It's just...
No. Because I've been trying to change.
Yeah, you become a different person.
My entire life.
So it's very, very good news.
It's very good news. In short, I found out God is better than I ever imagined, than I ever could have thought. He's so much better than we think he is, and powerful, and so much more powerful. And this news is too good to keep to myself.
But we have to share the dark stuff so that you know all what you've been saved from.
Yes.
And so that other people who have experienced the same things can relate to it, because maybe they can relate to, they can't relate to something. Maybe if we just shared one video.
Maybe someone can't relate to the sexual abuse, but someone could relate to the physical abuse. Or someone couldn't relate to any of the physical abuse or the sexual abuse, but could relate to the spiritual abuse. Because that's very common. Having a legalistic background really damages your view of God and your ability. And that's why a lot of people who have been legalistic end up just forsaking Christianity.
It's so easy
completely.
to be legalistic without even realizing it. Like, because I still catch myself being legalistic sometimes, but it's just thinking that you have to do something
in order to receive God's love. Yeah.
And so that's so easy to fall into. And it's comforting in a way, because it's like, oh, I know if I just check these boxes, then I'm good.
Yeah, it's a much safer gospel. That is so much safer. It's
and so
harder,
that's
but it's much safer in theory.
That's how your family was able to be Christians, because they had all the trappings, the external trappings. They're like the Pharisees that on the outside were great, but on the inside was like
completely rotten.
Dead men's bones in a rotting tomb. So, because if you do the legalistic external things,
I used to be one of them. I'm not saying like I wasn't a part of that, because I was.
Well, like I said, I still sometimes fall and struggle with that.
I was a dead man walking.
But so, so it's not about those external things. It's about being transformed from the inside out.
Yes.
Washing the inside of the cup, and the outside will get clean. And it's not even you doing it. It's
the Holy
Spirit coming in. And when you really have the Holy Spirit, because we'll get in that whole how you actually get the Holy Spirit, because you don't just get it by saying the sinner's prayer, which isn't even in the Bible, but that's a whole other video. And this video is already too long.
Those videos are too long. So just lastly, I was commanded to speak. When I got baptized, I heard a very clear command to speak. And it took me some time to understand exactly the full extent of what I am supposed to speak about. But I've been saved from way too much. There's been so much darkness that I have been freed from. And it's like, I have to speak about that.
I know.
I can't get to keep that to myself would be selfish and would be disobedient to God. And honestly, I did disobey God. I delayed doing this video series for like close to a year because
you just kept hearing God over and over again tell you need to do this series.
You need to do this. You need to do this. It was a very subtle. It wasn't like, how dare you not do this. It wasn't accusatory. It was just a conviction.
No condemnation.
There was no condemnation.
That's a big difference between conviction from the Holy Spirit and feeling guilty or condemned.
Yes. It wasn't like I felt guilty. It was just like, I know I need to do this. And then it was just, you need to do this right now. And I was like, okay, I can't. And it was just persistent. You need to do this now. You need to do this now. And I was like, okay, I just need to do this and start and be done with this, Yeah.
So in summary, the 5 reasons why you had to do this video series are, number 1.
Let me go back through. To expose the false gospel.
Right. Number 2.
Because we had the public blogs and...
Right. Just a quick summary. Just read through the
We're not complicit with our silence. To expose evil and allow others to make informed decisions. Give light to others. To share the true, powerful healing gospel.
So that's why we're doing this video
series. That's why we're doing this video. And I think we already covered, like, the response we've gotten is overwhelmingly positive.
Mm-hmm.
And I honestly can say that this is not coming from a place of bitterness or anger. Like, none whatsoever. Like, that's why I delayed. One of the reasons why I delayed, because I was asking myself, I was searching my heart and praying and asking God, like, if there's any shred of that, it needs to go, because I can't do this if that's there, because that will just poison anything I try to put out there. Like, no, I have nothing but love in my heart for my parents, for the siblings, for everyone. Like, nothing of that. But that doesn't mean that I have to sugarcoat what happened. I'm not going to do it.
We would love to be reconciled to everyone.
Yes.
And to have a relationship with them. Oh, iPhone storage is full. This one's still going.
Okay.
But I mean, this series isn't about them, because it's for all the other people out there at this point.
Right. Right.
We also see this series as potentially helping them, and it's already helping some of your siblings, because this is stuff that they're probably dealing with and they don't even know it. And so stuff is starting to ring true for them. So if we want them to get healing, we have to speak on their behalf, or speak about this for their sake.
So I know it's been really dark so far in the series, and there is a little bit more.
We're about to get to the good parts.
We're about to get to the really good parts, but there is a little bit more I have to share. But there are so many incredible and supernatural twists. It's just it's so riveting, and it's so good. And if you've been watching and relating to anything I've said, I encourage you to keep watching for one thing, because you can be healed. All of it. Even if there's a tiny bit of you that's like, oh, well, this isn't a big thing, or this is definitely way too big for God to heal. No, you can be made whole. You don't have to live a life of pain and triggers. And, the one lady was like, well, I've got my triggers down to 11 seconds and then I'm fine. It's like, no, you don't even have 0. 0 seconds. There can be absolutely no triggers.
So good.
None.
And if you don't want to wait to watch our whole video series, to sign up for our email list, you can
reach out, and I would be happy to refer you to any resources that could be helpful. And
we can help you get praying, or we'll help you get healing. We can try and help you get healing.
Yes.
So
yes. So
completely free, by the way.
Yeah, completely free. This is no charge. No. This is completely free. I am not gatekeeping healing in any way like that. Like, no. In the next part, I'm going to be sharing, understanding that my dad was a masochist and the dangerous effects that had on us kids, the dangerous working conditions, and the effects of neglect.
And child slavery, basically. That's how I describe it.
That's how you describe it. Yeah, I don't know what terminology to put on it. So anyway, see you in the next part. Thanks for watching.